I was around a lot of people who just had views on things, but they never really looked into anything. And so that's just who I was hanging out with, especially being in the gay community. That's just how it is. It's a lot of blame on what's going on. And a lot of the blame is on rich people. They don't pay taxes.
Yeah.
And they think that they're illegally not paying taxes. And so before I went to Tony Robbins, I was like, this is just some rich guy helping other rich people get rich, right?
Welcome back to one more episode of The Real Grind, ladies and gentlemen. If you're already watching with us, we appreciate the thumbs like and just share the love, man.
All the love.
Italo, I got a question for you, man.
What's the question?
What do you think about people that come from a small town? Are you from a small town or a big town?
I actually am from a small town. It's a weird dynamic because it's almost like near where I live in the U.S. now. Like my city in Brazil is equivalent to Fort Worth to Dallas.
It's funny because I lived in your city in Brazil. I wasn't born there in Belo Horizonte. I lived there for a while. All my family's there, but I was born in a very small town, dude. Like the hospitals was even like the tables made out of wood. Yes, 1986, baby.
What if you were like being born and you get a splinter in your wall?
Imagine that.
No. But that's what's cool though,
But I have a theory. The people come from a small town though, they have big hearts and they're usually drive like really, really like insane drive, man. And that's really cool.
They always like we do tended to like have big dreams, right? Because we always look at those things like we see on TV. We're like, I want to make it there. I want to make it big, and I want to make a difference, And I'm always inspired by that kind of stuff. I'm always inspired because that's what I lived through, Like I got out of the little city with $100 in my back pocket. Look where I'm at today.
Let's go. You're the real grind, man. You're going to places.
I'm trying. Here I am,
Let's go.
Let's go.
And let's get started to the show. This is the real grind, baby.
Waking up to success. Now we're getting it started. This is the real grind. Everything you've been wanting. Building an empire, no question. Talking about real estate, investing, making the millions. No stopping while we sip on gourmet coffee. The real grind. This is the real grind. Let's go.
And today's super special guest with a social media presence with over 100 followers in a very short period of time, all the way from Iowa to Texas. She worked her way up from a warehouse operator to a multifamily real estate investor. She's a wife and a mother of 4 beautiful dogs. We're welcoming on the stage Shania Moore. Let's go. Correction, we set at 100. 100, that's what we have right now. You see, it's 180. You're 100,000. But Shania, we're super excited to have you here, man. Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, thank you. I should say, I'm scared right now.
Why?
But you know what? Because
Why?
it's kind of nervous to come and do this sort of thing, but that's why you do it anyway.
Hey,
right?
we gotta sometimes
Shake the nerves.
we gotta get off of our out of our comfort zone. And look, for me too, because my background, I used to do all the stuff that you've seen here, but I was never in it. Right, and now I get to do it, but I just saw a little bit before we started the show. Like I'm fixing the light. I know everything. Everything bothers me, and now forget disconnected and be here present and know. But it's been great, and I saw some other podcasts that you're doing. I was blown away. It's really cool for your insights. Are very inspiring.
Yeah, thank you so much. Being on other people's stages is something we talk about. I'm in a community that invests in real estate and just putting yourself out there and being on other people's stages. So I'm on your stage. Look how beautiful this is.
Let's go.
Congratulations, by the way. This is fantastic.
That's awesome. I appreciate it.
But the fact that I can be invited here and I utilize your platform.
Absolutely. Isn't that powerful?
Yeah.
Because you're leveraging other people's stages and, a part of that group too, that they talk about that. And it was mind blowing because you leverage other people's stages and then it's their audience and then become your audience. I was part of this podcast once from Darren Batchelder. And I have my meetup events and somebody came out, Neander, I heard you on this platform and I came here just because I wanted to meet you. I thought your story is very inspirational. And that is what this is all about, right?
Yeah, that's so cool. I have a lot of people reach out to me and that was something I really wasn't expecting because it was in August last year. I had 400 followers or maybe 800 followers on Instagram. And then in a few months, I was pushing 80,000. I got up to 100,000.
I want to hear totally about that. But let's start. What are
Yeah.
your beginnings? Where are you from? You know, in the beginning of the show, talking about small city, you know, and my sister lives in Wisconsin, and every time, sometimes I drive and I go by Iowa. So talk a little bit about your beginnings.
Whenever someone says they're from a small town, I like to beat it because my small town had less than 1,000 people in it. So we had
Really?
a grocery store. There was a school. It was K through 12. So there was 300 kids total
Less
in
than
the
1,000
school.
people. So you beat
Yeah.
me. Might as well 6,000. So in Brazil, it's 1,000 people.
Oh my goodness.
We had a gas station.
You had a gas station.
Yeah.
So it's like what we used to say in joke is like you drive by and it's like, welcome to what's the name of your city?
So this town's called Baxter.
Oh, Baxter.
Yeah. I got to upgrade later and moved to Des Moines, which Greater Des Moines has about 700,000 people in it.
Oh, right.
Yeah. That's
So
the big city.
how was growing in there? Were you born there in Dexter?
Yeah, so I didn't grow up in town, and I always hated this about it because I felt like I didn't have any friends because I grew up out in the country. But that was really great. You know, my brother and I would go run out in the creek. We call it a creek, catch frogs, chase the cows. That's what I did growing up.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I saw some pictures of you. Like you did some horses. You really like horses. Your family had farms?
Yeah, I'm a horse girl. So my grandpa has about a 200-acre farm. My
Wow.
dad's a semi-driver. And I got my mom into horses. So now we have a horse barn, and that's what she does. She's really obsessed with it.
That's so cool.
But yeah, I trained horses for a long time. I really started out doing that when I was probably about 8 or 9. I got pretty obsessed.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And you know, a lot of the Iowa is known for a lot of corn too, right?
Yeah, corn and pigs. There's more pigs in Iowa than there are people.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
That's a fun fact.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Wow. And Shania, talked a little bit more about, you know, how did you go to college and you go to school and then you start working? What was that?
Yeah, so honestly, in high school, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I think I wanted to be a marine biologist for a couple days, and I just really didn't decide what I wanted to do. And I ended up going to college, but I went for 1 day, and I didn't go back. It just wasn't for me.
Same thing.
Yeah,
We're
so I ended
related.
up, yeah, I got a job in a movie theater, which was pretty cool working in a movie theater because
Yeah.
you can kind of sneak in and watch part of the movie.
You watched it firsthand, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Or you could try to stay in for the whole thing if you didn't get caught, but don't do that because that's not great work ethic.
Oh that's-
You should
that
probably
just
clean the
brought so much
popcorn.
memories right now. I know. I used to do that. You know when you spend all day in the movies and you come out and you see daylight, and it's like your eyes are burning.
I wouldn't even see daylight. I'd be there till like 1 or 2 in the morning cleaning.
Shit. Yeah.
Yeah, so I went from working in a movie theater, ended up getting a job in a call center, which I didn't like that either because I was taking on customer calls like back to back, and it was an internet company, so it was a lot of really harsh people on the phone. So that wasn't the best thing. Moved
To
my
give
way
you
up.
attitude.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
tough, man. Those jobs are tough because like sometimes you just gotta, or you can have a choice of hanging out the phone.
We couldn't hang up the phone. And a different job on the phone, I could. They said, you
could?
can hang up if someone's being super crazy to you.
Really?
Yeah, but it was always the old ladies who would call because they had their whole entire like monthly bill, and they're explaining it to me. And I'm like, this is your internet bill.
So whenever
That
you
happened
call
a
a call
lot.
center, do you feel you're nicer nowadays because you're
Yes.
like, yes?
Yeah, I had to think about it because I don't really call anyone, but yeah, I am pretty nice when I call people.
Wow. But Shania, you all about books. Like I see you posting a lot about books, and you know, have you ever read the book The Gap in the Gain?
I haven't. What's that about?
Have not. It's about for you to people just, you know, and we're gonna get there. You super high achievers. You always want to, you know, self grow and stuff, and to measure your success today. You know, because sometimes we get caught up on like, oh my God, what should have been, what could have been if I did this and that. But like we sometimes never look back as like, how can I measure my success today, right? So that's very powerful.
I like that.
And there was because I see it as well. But how did that interest of books came about? Like you give me those reviews. Is that part of your growth on your social media?
Yeah, so when I went to a Tony Robbins event and they were talking about really getting yourself out there, there was a guy talking about posting videos to sell. And even though I'm not selling anything on Instagram, but I'm selling myself to people.
Yeah.
Right. And I didn't know what to do because I hadn't really started investing in real estate at that point yet. I was still learning about it, but I didn't feel like I knew enough to actually talk about it. But I was reading a lot of books. And I'm trying to learn to be an entrepreneur, and I'm trying to work on myself. I'm always working on myself. So I knew that's what I could do, is I could add value to people. Because at Tony Robbins, that's what they talk about, is just add massive value. And that's what stuck in my head.
So how'd you get across Tony Robbins events? It's like, how'd you?
I would say that's pretty lucky. I hate saying that things are lucky because I think most luck is actually really hard work, that someone achieves something. But my job I was working at, this is my first sales job, which I'm sure we can dive into the details of that. He really loved Tony Robbins, and he took us to Tony Robbins events. So the first one was UPW, and then he took us to Business Mastery.
So I never been to a live Tony Robbins event.
You should go.
Ever. I know. I've been talking to Delia about it. I was like, this year is the year they want to go. But I hear both the stories, like some people that really love it, change their lives and all that stuff. And some people that will be like, oh, that's not for me.
Yeah. I didn't think
you
it was
can see
going to
that.
be for me.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I'll speak honestly. I didn't like Tony Robbins, but back then I didn't like rich people. If you know what I mean?
I was going to ask that because like I watched the episode that you recorded on other podcast, and I watched you say that, and I was just like, I gotta ask that, and talk about that for a little bit. Why didn't you like rich people?
Yeah, so your proximity is really important, and I was around a lot of people who just had views on things, but they never really looked into anything, and so that's just who I was hanging out with. Especially being in the gay community, that's just how it is. It's a lot of blame on what's going on, and a lot of the blame is on rich people. They don't pay taxes.
Yeah.
And they think that they're illegally not paying taxes. And so before I went to Tony Robbins, I was like, this is just some rich guy helping other rich people get rich, right? And so I go to UPW, and the people in the crowd are not rich. They were probably more broke than I was. But they had saved so much money. Like, they worked really hard to save the money to get there, to have a transformational moment, and they did. Like, this lady sitting next to me, she's like, this is everything for me.
Really?
It was everything for her, and she was so into it. But I was like, this is weird. Everyone's dancing, and I'm just like, tapping my foot.
You
like,
started in stages, like a little bit on the foot, and then a little bit.
I wouldn't even high five people.
Really?
Yeah, because I did Muay Thai and we Y.
Yeah,
and so I'm
yeah.
like, I'm not going to touch anybody's hands because COVID was going on too. But I was super skeptical and extremely negative. And that's how I felt at that time. That was UPW. That was November. I don't even know how long ago, probably over a year ago now. But that's just crazy how much has changed for me in a really short amount of time.
This is interesting sometimes when you have a form idea of something and we stepped in and totally closed, and it's like, and sometimes we don't want to give up because like, I don't want to change my opinion because that, and did that make you a better, like when you go through something that it's uncomfortable that you don't know, with more of an open mind nowadays?
Absolutely. And now I do it on purpose.
You do it on
I
purpose.
intentionally do something like this. It kind of scares me. It's a little hard, but it's always more beautiful on the other side. There's always beauty on the other side of pain.
That's awesome, man. I got goosebumps now. This is powerful. This is great. And from Tony Robbins, like what was after the Tony Robbins event? And
so Tony Robbins was pretty transformational in a lot of ways, because that's the first time I ever heard about real estate. And I jumped down a rabbit hole of learning about real estate. So that was pretty cool. But it's really funny because the first thing about real estate I heard about was syndicating large multifamily. And I was like, that's awesome. I want to do that. But it was like, whoosh, it's hard. It's complicated.
Yeah.
You hear all these things coming from other people who aren't doing it, talking about how hard and complicated it is, and you need this, this, and that. And so I stopped looking into it, and I started looking into like doing single family homes or flips, duplexes.
Because there's a way that in the multifamily they can start bigger, but it's scary. Like, right? I never thought myself, even when I was living in apartments, that I could own such a thing. It's so it's so intimidating, right?
It is.
But look, I want to talk about the real estate, your real estate experience and journey. But before, guess what time it is?
What time is it?
It's coffee time! Drop it like it's hot.
I know. Back from another cool store adventure. But before I say anything else, very nice to see you and meet you in person.
Thank you.
I've seen some of your stuff. I love what you bring out there for people. So keep on inspiring.
Thank you so
love
much.
Love it. So,
What you got here, man? Let me see. What is this?
well, but before, hold on.
Man, you dropped stuff, come in aggressive and drop shit on my table.
Because I've been drinking too much coffee. I think that's what it does to me. But question for you. Because I got to find out. Are you a coffee drinker?
I am a coffee drinker. I probably overdrink it.
You overdrink
Lately?
it? I'm scared of because I don't
No,
usually
she's going to
ask
start
that
dropping
question.
stuff in the table.
Right before, like you run through my mind, should I ask the question? Are you coffee? But I decided no. I'm just gonna being spontaneous here because you know we have people there. We have actually an episode. Dr. Shout, he never actually tried coffee without sugar in his entire life. It was the first time here, and he liked it.
Yeah. How is the coffee culture in Iowa?
Oh, what? There isn't one that I'm aware of because I wasn't in it. I made my coffee at home.
Right, but are people like big coffee drinkers there?
I mean, probably
'Cause
just,
it's
you know,
cold,
some
right?
black coffee. You know, it's
Yeah.
old farmers. They go to the coffee shop, they sit down, they talk crap about their pigs, and they drink black coffee.
That's funny.
This guy is snoring on camera.
Yeah, I know. That's so cool. You know, because you know, there's Jackie's from. We asked also Jackie on the show. She's from Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And she said the same thing. It's like, yeah, our coffee is just like there's not like such a latte thing. There's black coffee. We go to coffee shop, talk smack.
Yes.
So you just confirm the theory.
If we show up at a coffee shop putting latte and stuff, they're like, "What the hell are you doing,
Yeah.
man? Like, get out of here. That don't belong here, you know." But yeah, so this coffee right here. So you've been in Texas for how long now?
About a month.
About a month.
Yeah, I'm really fresh.
Did you get to adventure into one of those central markets yet? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't think I have, no. I went to Fort Worth. I went to a rodeo.
So you almost went there. So there's this huge supermarket in Fort Worth. I think they have some in Dallas as well. It's called the Central Market.
Okay.
So what they do, basically, they have a lot of organic stuff and they support local, right? So I was trying to think about coffee, like what else should I bring? What else should I bring? I was like, you know what? I talked about supporting local. Let me see what they have. So went there and I found this bag of coffee there by Third Coast Coffee. And one of the things that attract me to this type of package, I'm a package guy. I don't know about you, but I buy with my eyes.
So he charged basically for your world. He charges the book by the cover.
not in a way, because a lot of people will think that this is bad. It's just plain. There's not a whole lot of stuff in here.
There's a bird on it.
Right. But for me, I look at it as like, okay, this is pretty simple, but I like it because they're keeping it simple because probably what's inside is better than what's outside. So that's how I look
Put
at
it
it.
that way.
You know, looks like it's just a stamp. They're like, hey, we have more work to do inside of the bag than the outside. So I decided to get this guy. So they're from Austin, and what they do is pretty cool. They support small farms outside of the States. So they bring the coffee from outside of the States. And this one is specifically is called Guatemala. So Guatemala, and it has some pretty cool notes to it, which I'm gonna hide for now. And I'm gonna let y'all try it out. So Shania, this one is for you. There you go.
So we don't have this where I'm from. This is a small cup.
That's funny.
Okay, a couple of things we're gonna do before we try in there. Have you drank coffee like this before? Do you know?
Do you smell it?
You smell it and then you slurp on it, like you're drinking like hot soup type of
Okay.
deal. You know, like
Yeah.
I know that sounds disgusting. Like
Do you
you're
like
drinking
wine?
Yeah, I like wine.
Yeah, kind of
You
like.
know when you start drinking better wine and then you drink like a not that good of a wine and be like, do you do
Yeah,
that?
it gives you a headache. Yeah, and it's not
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
Right.
So this is one issue. After you try this, then you're gonna drink the black oat coffee and you'll be like, oh my god,
What is
Don't
this?
tell my wife, because she already did this with the wine. We started drinking nice wine, and now we can't
Okay,
drink barefoot
now
anymore.
I'm sorry.
This guy did this to me on coffee way back then when he told me about coffee. I was like, nah, I'll stick to whatever, you know. And now I'm one of those guys that nah, I don't want that Folger stuff. Get that out of my face.
Nobody can invite Italo for coffee because you get this up. If it goes to a date and be like, let's go for coffee, he start lecturing about the the
Starbucks.
coffee, and then probably the date will walk away.
You wonder why they don't call you back.
Let's drink coffee.
All right.
Just kidding. So give it a good slurp on it and then let it sit on your mouth a little bit.
Scared.
So put it on top of your tongue. Let it go to the sides. Do it again.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure this one out.
Last time I said bananas, and you're like, nope.
How did you brew it? It kind of tastes like pour over.
It is a pour over. Look
is
at
a
her.
pour
I tried
over.
doing that once at
Yeah.
home.
Yeah.
Hey, if you want to learn more, watch our video. We have a cool video talking about it. Super simple. It's so simple. It will blow your mind.
And people think, oh, this is watery, man. It's like tea, you know. There's no, but that's how you should drink coffee.
Yeah.
There's so much
This
more
has
caffeine
more
in there.
caffeine than actually a very dark roast coffee.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because the time that the water takes to go through the coffee ground, it's longer, and the espresso is just so quick that you get more the placebo effect when you drink espresso, because it's like, ooh, I get the goosebumps, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm ready to go. No, that's gonna get you going way
this is really
longer.
good.
So
I'm already going. I'm like kind of shaky from the nerves from the podcast still. So I'm like,
so if you have to guess,
Kind of peaches in there.
no. What do you say, Shania? What do you think the notes will be on that one if you have to guess?
the what's?
The notes of the coffee. What does it remember? Like the taste, what does it remember you? Does it remember like...
First of all,
It's
do you
like the
like
hardest
it?
question you're gonna ask me.
I know. Do you like it?
I do like it. Yeah, I like it
Yeah.
a lot. Yeah.
So give it a score 0 to 10. What would you grade this coffee compared to anything as coffee you ever had?
Probably like an 8 or 9, considering where I'm from.
Wow.
Yeehaw.
Love it.
I
Love
can't.
it.
So
Love
it's like
it.
all these impulsive thoughts all the time, and I try not to act on them, but I just do it.
We love it. We
love
love
it.
the spontaneous here.
But this is marshmallow and chocolate. So,
What?
yeah. So
I was gonna think kind of fruity just because of the little
me
bit
too.
of the bitter.
Me too.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is, I was looking up their website, and on their website they have something different. So I was like, I wonder if this is a different type of Guatemala coffee that they're having. But again, chill. I always say, notes on coffee are. That's the biggest lie on the coffee label, because if you don't like marshmallow, you're never gonna drink it. Oh, this is like marshmallow, because you don't like marshmallow. And if you like the coffee, that's not gonna be like side by side. But overall, I like the coffee too. What's your idea on it?
Yeah, this is it actually is pretty good.
Yeah?
You know the one I bought from
Fredericksburg.
Eve reminds me of it.
Yes.
You know, a little bit acidic, like fruity, you know, but it's very good body. I love
Awesome.
it, man.
Yeah, but-
good find.
This one is, like I said, if you want to find good coffee with your wife, not expensive, easy to find at Central Market, super easy to find, cheap, and always gonna get fresh roasted.
You know what, Ítalo? We're
Yeah.
gonna have a couple months follow up with our guests. It's like, hey, how's your coffee experience?
How's your coffee journey going?
They'll be like, you son of a gun! I've been just drinking all this kind of coffee.
Or they can be saving a lot of money too, because now if they stop drinking $7-8 coffees from Starbucks and big shops,
it's a big deal.
you can be making your own drinks at home. But
true.
I want to keep hearing more of the stories about your small town and all the funny stuff you say, because that's what we do back in Brazil. But if you say, you're going to be like, what the hell are they talking about? Because it's in Portuguese, so I guess it doesn't really apply. But thank you so much, y'all. Thank you so much for trying the coffee. Love sharing coffee with people. And I'll be right there in my coffee cove.
Thank you.
Let's
All
go.
right, let's go.
Hey guys, real quick before we continue. So if you want to learn a little bit more how to get started and invest in real estate today, please go to their website, multifamilyempire.com. And if you also want to learn how to do the best cup of coffee in your own home, we're going to teach you a lot of tips and tricks. Go to multifamilyempire.com/the real grind. Let's get back to that interview. All right, Shania. So I want to hear about, first, before we get to that real estate, how did you think was your recipe that you grew that following so fast and so quick? What did you do?
Really, I think it's a few things. Mostly the focus on adding value and just how am I
Given.
how am I giving to these people? How am I helping other people? And that's really my focus is on that. Another thing is being really consistent. You have to post probably every day,
And what
at
is
least
that
not twice
exactly
a day.
what you do? You give reviews of books?
Yeah, so I'm talking about books mostly. Every now and then I'll mix in the real estate and talk more about that. I really like talking about mindset and communication skills. Those are the main things I like to talk about.
That's super cool, man.
Yeah, but anybody can do it. If you focus on adding value, you post consistently, and you post reels and put your face on the reels. Those are the most important components, in my opinion.
You know what's funny? We had a episode here with the kids. We brought a bunch of kids, and we asked them the question, what would you rather have, 100,000 followers or $100,000? I want to ask you that question. You already have, but
Yeah.
if you because you say you were started, you know, with the 800 something, you know, and it's not that it matters, but I'm just like, what would it be if back then is that you had to choose 100K or 100,000 followers?
Yeah, I could get $100,000 many different ways. When you start looking into building wealth, you're like, oh, there's so many different ways to earn $100,000. So if I had 100,000 more followers, that'd expand my reach, and that'd be more valuable to me. So I want the
you go.
followers.
That's cool, because you know everybody, the kids did not think about this. They all wanted the money.
The money.
They all was like, yeah. And I was surprised because like I put that question way before, and I thought they were gonna choose the 100 followers because this is the thing now, right? Like people want to get followers, and this has became a kind of almost like Ethan was talking, like a currency, right? The followers and what's so what. But for me, as far as And my business would make a difference. I know for your business would make a difference. And $100,000, yeah, we can go get that $100,000, you know. And sometimes people have been trying for years to grow their following and whatever. So it was a very interesting question, and it's good to hear from you. Bet you already have 100,000 followers, which is congratulations on that.
Thank you.
And I've been watching one of your reels too. It's really interesting. Shania, so you went to Tony Robbins and you had, you know, goddamn rich people, and then you switch. And how was that switch? And talk about your journey now with the real estate.
Well, it wasn't immediate. Everybody says this. You know, they read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and that was a huge turning point. And that's when I started to realize.
The book?
Oh yeah, I read the book. I read it in a day, and then the next day I read Cash Flow Quadrant, and then the next couple days I read his Guide to Investing because it's a bit bigger.
You read the whole book in a day?
I read 3 of them in like 3 or 4 days. They're really easy to read.
Oh my God.
The words are kind of spaced apart.
It takes me like months to read a book. That's why I do audiobooks all the time. Because like you read a book in a day, you must read really fast.
I'm
Well, I
jealous.
started to, but then I read somewhere that if you're reading fast, you're not actually enjoying the book because everybody's
yeah.
talking about like speed reading and like,
Yeah.
I kind of mix it now. Like I'll read pretty quick, but I try to absorb it too. But
Sure.
that's the whole point, is to absorb the book.
And so you was the Rich Dad Poor Dad, the Quadrum.
The Cash Flow Quadrant. It was just really eye-opening because all I ever knew was to either work for money until I die, and I never wanted to do that. Like one of my biggest motivators is that I want to do what I want to do. And sorry, it's not like some beautiful thing about raising money and saving the world, but that's just, I really want to do what I want to do. And those things come along with it. At a certain point, you know, things are really selfish and you have selfish goals, but then they expand past that and they expand past yourself. And it's just part of the journey.
Absolutely, man. That's beautiful. So,
But read more books, kids.
yay, let's go.
Read Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Right? And that was a transformation for so many people. That
Have you read
book, I have, but a long time ago, and I remember part of it, some of that, but it's not recent for me. So if you ask me quotes of the book, I will not remember, but I did read it. Yes.
It's just, that was one of the things that got me over the hump of really disliking rich people, because I thought they were doing some scheme and against everybody. But then I realized that it's a choice and decisions that you make that can get you to somewhere else you want to be in life. And
I think this should begin for that path of, you know, the success of, it's a mind change, right? The shift. And, you know, that's in that book, it talks specific about that. It makes you see what we think it's the right path for us. The society put us out there, right? Hey, graduate, get good grades, and go to school, and, you know, get a job.
Keep paying taxes.
Keep paying taxes.
For the government, yeah.
Perfect product.
Yep.
Right? And
exactly.
to think outside of the box and put yourself out there. And that's awesome, man. And how'd you get, so we start talking about a little bit about the multifamily, like that. You got intimidated about it, and it's like, man, how was that experience there?
Yeah, so I was really intimidated by it. So I started looking into all these different ways to where I could work my way up, hence the word work. Because really when you're buying anything small, and I'm just saying this from what I've heard because I haven't done it, but when you're buying things that are really under 60 units, you're buying yourself a job because you're placing the tenants, you're taking calls, you're fixing toilets in the middle of the night. Haha, that's the real estate joke.
Yep.
But that's what you do. But when you look at things that are 60 units and up, you can afford a full-time on-site property management company, and then you manage the management company.
Amen.
And so I had to learn that, obviously. I didn't know, because I spent about a year studying everything else. And I joined a mentorship program that was more focused on getting people into like duplexes, fourplexes. Some of them did syndications, but it wasn't the focus.
Yeah.
And they were really great people, but most of the people in the community were brand new. And so it's really hard to find partners when everyone's new.
Right.
But that's another kind of belief you need to get over, is that you need to partner with other people. I didn't want to partner with people because I knew I was going to mess it up because I didn't know what I was doing. So I wanted to mess it up for myself first. That was my old thought process.
And, you know, for syndication and for, you know, raising people and start partnering up with people, you have to have kind of a unique superpower so you can partner with other people that together. For example, Delia and I in our firm, like, she is the brains of numbers, spreadsheets, and I'm more of the relationship guys with their investors and networking. Also do a lot of the operations itself. So what is your superpower? Yeah,
it's something I'm developing, right? I'm not born with a superpower, and I had to learn about syndication. And it's really funny because you start learning about it, and there's a bunch of different rabbit holes you go down.
It is.
And so that's really one of the main reasons why I have all these followers, and what I want to be able to do for them someday is help them invest in syndications.
That's really cool.
And so in my mind, the more followers I have, the more likely people are accredited investors. So I could eventually do a 506c raise.
Right, because that is powerful, especially you leverage your stage, right, to those people. Definitely that's a very powerful tool. That's awesome. So, what is you want to open? So, your future for on the syndication, you want to be a syndicator. You want to buy more units and be.
Yeah. So it's really funny. I had a memory pop up on Facebook. I read Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich. So I'm like writing my goals every day. And this picture came up from literally a year ago. It was last year in March. And I wanted 18 doors in 3 years. That was my goal. And now I'm passive in 168. And I'm 100% confident I'll be in 300 doors at least this year as a general partner.
Let's go.
And that's a mix of things. That's learning. I think joining a mentor is really important, and I tell people that all the time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because you can either do it by yourself and figure it out, or you can, utilize somebody else's experience and learn their process. So that's really cool. And then being in the right crowd, being around the right people. I thought 18 doors in 3 years was what I needed to do because of the people I was around. But now I'm around people with, 8,000, 10,000 doors, multimillionaires.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know exactly what you're talking about for the group that you're in, which I love the mindset of sharing first, that everybody wants to help each other. And definitely the power of having a mentor changes everything, right?
It does.
And it happens to be you have the same mentor and, where it changed my life. First time that I stepped in an event and, and I was listening to, I never heard anything about multifamily. I thought about real estate investing, which a lot of people look when and I'm being this quite for 5 years now, but I ask people the general idea of real estate investors that you buy multiple houses, right? And then you say multifamily people, is that multi-level marketing?
They do say
right?
that.
They do say that.
Someone said that to me, and I was like, what? I didn't know they called it that.
It's because now, like, we're doing the jumping things, like kind of Tony Robbins
It
and people's
is.
an event in a ballroom, and people are like, this is multi-level marketing. No, it's multi-family, it's apartments. So I'm trying to use it, even though our business name is like Multifamily Empire, but it's like I try to use apartments.
Yeah, I say apartments too.
Yeah, apartamentos in Portuguese, if you will. Just to be clear, But, the point is that being involved in a mentorship and in a program like this, it's really cool because it pushes you, not just, they have a recipe for you to follow. And it was so much helpful. It changed our lives for sure.
Yeah. I kind of want to just back it up just a tiny bit because, I'm 26 years old and I talk to a lot of people my age. And they ask, how can you even have money to do it? Usually when you're investing in a syndication, the minimum required is $50,000 to get in passive, and it varies when you're a general partner. But how do you even get $50,000? And something that was really important to my growth was stepping into a sales position and being 100% commission based, which is really risky. But when you're making commission and you're going into a different, you're working for a company and you can just bust out dials, even if you don't know sales, you can find companies that'll hire you. And the more calls you make, the more likely you are to make sales.
Sure.
And you're making commission, you make more money. So I started making 6 figures when I was 24. And then that's how I've been able to save money to be able to invest.
So have you invested yet in the deal?
Yeah, I've invested. Yeah, I'm in 168 deals.
That's
Nick was
awesome.
in here, actually. I was in his deal.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's so super cool. And like, what was the first feeling that you did as investing passively? Because that's what I'd recommend for everybody. Look, even if you want to get into be a syndicator or GP deals, I think it's very important for you to invest at least in a couple of deals as an LP, limited partner, to get how do they work, get your feet right? So what would you recommend?
Yeah, I honestly thought I was going to be really upset about spending the money because I felt like I was going to save this money. I was going to get really emotionally attached to this money in my bank account, and then it was going to be gone. But that was not it at all. Like, it felt really good to get that out of there because I know it's going somewhere where it's going to 2x by itself in 3 to 5 years because that's the average hold time. And I don't have to do anything.
Right. And talk about this sales job. But what kind of sales was that? You just like, I'm going to make this money, and you make 6 figures on sales. That's really cool.
Yeah. So it was really cool. I was working at a powder coating company after I got fired from my job in a warehouse loading semi-trailers, which is actually a really funny story. Because I was working in this warehouse in the middle of summer. There's no windows, and I'm like loading boxes on pallets that weigh more than I do. My boss comes up. He says, come to my office. And that's not a good sign when your boss says to, hey, come in my office.
Yeah.
He said, Shania, you're fired. I'm going to walk you out right now, but you can call the union. They'll probably try to get your job back, but I didn't want to get the job back. I was already trying to find different things at that point because it was
Just like
miserable. I literally bled during the job interview. Like I busted my hand open and he goes, oh, you're the second person to bleed during a job interview today. So that should have been a red flag, but it was paying really good money. And to me, really good money was $20 an hour then. And so I got fired from that job. I went to a powder coating company for a couple months, making like probably $10 an hour. And then I heard about this company in my town. So this is in Des Moines, a pretty small city, pretty new startup company. They just moved from working in this guy's basement to being in an actual office. And they were hiring lead generation. So people that were calling cold leads to get them on trial, who would then later go to the sales team and they would call them to get a sale. Started there, $12 an hour, got the job. And what I did, I go in and these guys are on the phone calling maybe 70 people a day.
70
They're
people.
smoking their vapes. They're on their phone. They're watching shows on the computer. And I knew I could outwork them because that's what I've always done, is work really hard. And so I'm calling 200, 300 people a day. I'm getting 30 people on trial, I think was the most I did in a day. And then a few months later, they're already telling me, hey, we have a sales position open. Why don't you come do sales? And then I go to the sales team and they're calling 40 people a day. They're watching shows. They're on their phone. I'm like, I'm going to outwork these people. And I did. And I was calling 100 sales calls a day. And back then it was like this really long script they had written up, which was really weird. There was no sales training. So I'm just reading this long script, not breathing. I'm like trying to sell this person on the phone. It was Farmers, by the way. Go Iowa.
Did you kind of do your own script? Or?
Eventually I did. So I really did a year of just kind of doing it that way, the way that they showed me to do it. And I started to get really frustrated because I didn't want to keep working that hard. That wasn't what I wanted to do. And I started being kind of resentful to the job for not having any real sales training and not teaching me anything. But then I figured, I can teach myself. And that's really when I started reading about sales books. I started studying sales. And I kind of transitioned to where I could kind of relax during the day because what I'm doing on the phone is converting more.
Yeah.
And I don't have to bust out so many dials. So I think anybody can get a sales job, but it is risky. And you just got to put yourself out there and do it and work hard.
So let me ask you a question. Now that you're in a path of, wealthy, what you have to say for somebody that hate rich people?
If you hate rich people, read Rich Dad Poor Dad and maybe go hang out with some because they're not what you think. Like,
I don't hang out with you guys. It's super cool, man. You know what I'm saying?
the nicest people I have ever met. I spent money to be in proximity to them. I spent over 30 grand to be in proximity to them. Couldn't afford it, but it got me in the right room. And they are the nicest, most caring, most giving people. I think what happens a lot, in middle class, people really tear each other down. But when you meet people who are like levels above you, they like throw a ladder down or they're reaching a hand down because they want to help you.
Powerful. Well, Shania, it has been great, but the audience would like to know a little bit more about you. And this is the part that we're spilling the beans with Shania. Are you ready?
This is intense. I'm ready.
This is intense. The music's it's intimidating. Could be. So's the questions. Just kidding. Beach or mountains?
Mountains. No question.
All right. Muay Thai or Jiu-Jitsu?
You said Muay Thai right. Muay Thai.
Jiu-Jitsu, man.
Yeah? Well, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Ah.
I did that for a month, by the way.
Horses or dogs?
They're like the same thing. That's a hard one. Dogs.
I know. Dogs?
Dogs are easier to take care of.
Okay. Paper books or ebooks?
Paper books.
All the way?
I like to hold it. Flip the pages.
Anchovies or mushrooms?
I hate mushrooms. And I don't know if I've ever had anchovies, so I'm going to go with anchovies. What is an anchovy? What is that?
It's a kind of
Got like the little seeds in there.
Mushrooms.
okay.
That's, oh my goodness.
I know, right? That changed really fast. All right. Iowa or Texas?
Texas. I've been
Oh,
liking
man,
Texas.
really?
I mean, yeah, I love my roots, but I want everyone to move down here.
Okay, Italo, write it down. We got to come back to and ask about coffee and about you should still like Texas in a few months.
Taking notes.
Ivy or poison ivy?
Is that like an alter ego? Well, she's been both. I like
she's-
Ivy. Well, for Halloween.
For
She dressed up
Halloween,
as
she's
Poison
being-
Ivy.
That's funny.
So if you had to pick one, only one, would you have more money or would you have more time?
More time.
That's what we do all this about. And this was Spilling the Beans with Shania. Let's go. Shania, this has been amazing, dude. You're so inspiring, man. Because, like, you took a journey and it just, wasn't comfortable. Was always had the mindset of growing. But I want to challenge you and I want you to look at the camera right there. And if you could talk to your younger self, what would you have to say? Start by saying, hey, Shania.
Yeah. This is what I would need to hear back then. Hey, Shania, keep going. Because you are going to be living the life of your dreams. Because honestly, that's what I am doing right now. This is the life that I always dreamt of. And now I can go to the next level. So keep your head down, keep going. It's going to get better. And you've got this.
Let's go. Cool, man. It was very nice to get to know you. And, this is what we do the shows about, man, is like to see stories like yourself, like, how you make it and you grind it. And that's what we call the real grind for a reason. Super, super, super proud of you and your wife. And thank you for coming to the show.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. You guys are awesome.
Let's go. Thank you so much. And if you're watching this, go ahead and get the likes, get the sharing. We appreciate you. Thank you very much.
And as always, thank you for watching The Real Grind. Remember, support local. That's where you're gonna find a lot of good treasures like this one. These guys here, they're the Third Coast Coffee. Go check them out, they're amazing. And if you wanna watch the full episodes, YouTube, Facebook, if you wanna listen on the go, at the gym, no matter what you're doing, hit your favorite podcast platform. We'll be there. Don't forget to hit the likes. We love the likes, we love the subscribes. That's how we bring all this great content to you. There's no such a thing as being from a small town, big city. Don't dream too small. Never. Keep grinding because this is where The Real Grind. Let's go.
Waking up to success. Now we're getting it started. This is the real grind. Everything you've been wanting, building an empire, no question. Talking about real estate, investing, making the millions, no stopping. While we sip on gourmet coffee. The real grind.